If you want to really do well when it comes to dating and when it comes to women, you have to have self-discipline. You really have to master yourself first, and then you have to really understand women.
Psychologist, relationship coach,
therapist, someone that's really been taking off lately online with your relationship expertise.
We have the return of Sadia Khan. There's so many issues with dating in today's world. These discussions need to be had.
As soon as I land in the UK, I'm like, no wonder people stay with people they hate, because the alternative of being by yourself is also too difficult.
Can you still be friends with your ex?
Absolutely not.
Jay Shetty would disagree.
If you are a strong enough character, or if you've got a life worth living, you don't need to hold on to relationships that have run their course. And that's friendships and exes.
When it comes to relationships, of course, you will get that temptation, but you're in control of how much you expose yourself to that temptation.
My advice to men when it comes to attracting women and it comes to having a good relationship is just...
What's up, guys? Welcome back to First Things First. We have the return of Sadia Khan.
Oh, God. Thank you so much for having me. I was saying to the guys as I was coming up, I was like, this is actually quite emotional for me, because when I first came on the show, I had like 2,000-3,000 followers, like nothing. And then I did your podcast and it just blew up after that. And I just didn't recognize my life after your podcast because I got so many others from there. So yeah. I'm very, very, very grateful to be back, and I'm very grateful for you as a person.
Yeah, that was I think it was the 10th episode.
Yeah. This time 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it was around this time 2 years ago we did our first episode.
So, like, what's changed since then?
Everything, work-wise, everything, because it totally changed. I had no audience. I basically didn't have an audience, and I had never had a one-on-one conversation up until our podcast. And things that I was just saying that I thought were just like normal conversation kept going viral. Like literally every question and answer went viral, and I just didn't know what to do with what was going on. And then I had you in my ear being like, start a YouTube, start this, start that, this, that and the other. And now on like 900,000 YouTube subs and stuff like that, it's just all grew because you're like coaching me all the time. Do this, do this, do this. And all praise be to God, I'm now in a good position.
Fully deserved.
Thank
you.
You
know,
so
it was annoying as well when there was all these other social media pages taking the content from that conversation, getting millions of views.
And
I was
we were there like beggars.
Not even getting credited.
We weren't getting tagged, we weren't getting anything, but it worked. And I managed to kind of, everything came from that one podcast, because then I had Chris Williams, and that created a whole new audience. And then from that, it just kept going elsewhere and elsewhere. So I'm very, very grateful. So I owe everything to Mr. Thurston. Thank you so much.
No problem. What I wanted to get into is basically, first of all, how you are dealing with the conflicting opinions that you get in your audience and comment sections when you're making these videos and posts.
It's so stressful because in my world, what I'm saying is common sense. Where I come from, where I'm saying is common sense, but more so than anything, I work with people all day, every day. So when I'm saying these things about masculinity, about how women think and how people, it's because I'm working with everybody. So when you're like a 24-year-old boy in his mum's basement having such a strong opinion about what happens in marriages, or when you're this old man that has never had a sexy woman ever in your life, and you're telling me about gold diggers, how would you know? So just trust me on this. And I'm not here to trigger you or upset you. I'm telling you because it's the truth. It's like, I'm not trying to upset anybody. So the intense reaction that I get from either really strong feminists or just really feminine men, that it just destabilizes me. And you know me, I'm so ratchet. I always have to say something back. I can never be a classy, mature person. Just be like, it doesn't matter. I'm always like, no, fuck your mum.
Yeah, I see you responding to people or calling people out or screenshotting what they've said or like messaging.
And you know, so many people be like, is this your team? I'm like, no, this is my own fat fingers every day just doing it. So I need to stop. Because my problem is I'm such a confrontational person that I feel the need to debate when something's wrong or to justify my opinion. Not because I actually care what they're saying, but I care about the truth being put out there. So that's where my problem is. But I do need to, you know.
The thing is, though, like, there's so many issues with dating in today's world. These discussions need to be had.
Yes.
You can't just kind of like tiptoe around these subjects. You have to kind of lay it out there.
Yeah.
Voice your opinion and then kind of see what everybody else is saying.
And one of my main feedbacks that I get either from my clients or from people online is, why is nobody else talking about this? Or you sound a bit unique in this area, or how come no one else is talking about like escorts or this, that and the other? And it's because it's the world we live in now. What is the point of ignoring these things when it's happening so much? So yeah, I'm trying my best.
What are the taboo topics that people usually
they get the most triggered about is still, for some reason, men assume women don't cheat. So when I talk about women cheating and what happens when women cheat, that seems to trigger a lot of people, men and women. And escorts, the use of escorts and pornography seems to trigger a lot of men and women, because it's something that's constantly happening, but nobody's talking about. And like, we all know about OnlyFans and all this stuff, but we're not talking about the men subscribing. We're still not really talking about that.
And you got to think how much. That was a great statement. How much money these OnlyFans girls are making.
Yeah.
And men complain about it, but it's like, hang on, men are the reason that they freaking exist in the first place, and they're making that much money.
And you know, for every one Bonnie Blue, you know who she is? The one that slept with 1,000 men.
Yeah.
For every one OnlyFans model that is, let's say, you know, they want to say she's ran through to that. For every one, there's 1,000 men queuing up to sleep with her. 1,000 men waiting in line, waiting for one man to ejaculate so they can go and ejaculate. And then they want to call her names. And she's a millionaire at the end of that day. You're just a guy that was in a queue that had your pants down in front of another 1,000 men. So
did that actually happen in the end?
I hope not. Because
I didn't look. I saw that was getting a lot of traction on social media. I didn't go and investigate, but I was like, what the hell is... Why are we making these people famous?
I know there was one that had 100 men, and that definitely happened because I saw the documentary on that. Did you see Lily Phillips? She had 100 men, and that actually happened because you could see like the drain, how drained she was there. But yeah, generally, when you direct the traffic to them, the real cause of the problem, that's when I get the backlash. Yeah.
Is there anything that you've learned over the past 2 years from this kind of rise to fame and obviously dealing with more clients? I would imagine you probably get more, I don't know, the clients you work with that are like more important, have more money.
Yeah. The main thing I realize is as men have more money, their selection in women gets worse. They don't have the time to vet her correctly. They don't have the ability, and also they don't require much from her because they are so successful. Firstly, they don't have the time to, you know, spend all day, every day with her, getting to know her, getting to know her past. Usually men would meet girls that maybe they went to school with or their friends knew or something. They don't really have that spare time. So they really just pick a woman and, you know, they don't get that chance to vet her correctly. They also pick a woman in environments that are more suited to their needs. Like, so maybe they're in expensive restaurants or expensive holidays. So they're with women in those environments a lot. Those women are totally different to women who are just in Starbucks or just in, you know, a regular shisha place or something like that. So they don't have the time to vet her. The other thing that they have is they don't require much from her because there's usually they've got a chef or maybe they've got somebody to clean the house. They've got everything that a woman would normally do for them. They've got all of that. So they only really require someone that sleeps with them. That's all they really end up requiring. They don't really have time for that emotional or social battery, for all that emotional connection. So they end up selecting women who are only capable and good for one thing, really. And so when you see all these kind of like strippers and when you see all these escorts and they're marrying like Jeff Bezos's and they're marrying all these really successful men, it's because the only compartment left that they can't do for themselves is sexual. So that's usually the only skill she needs. So they end up going for the most promiscuous women. They don't need a chef. They don't need a woman that's great with kids. They don't need all of those things. They're like, okay, I haven't got time for all of that. I just need someone to sleep with at the end of the night. And then who is that? Usually a former escort or a former stripper. So these are the women that are accessing the most successful men.
Yeah, that's a...
Would you imagine that or no?
I can see how that's the case.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't expect a really successful guy to be with a promiscuous girl that has a bad track record because I don't know, maybe some guys are smart and I feel like they've got experience and they can just see like, no, this person is trash. But then there's others, usually those guys that have been so focused on work and have just been so obsessed with becoming successful and making more money, they actually don't have much experience with relationships. So when it comes to choosing a partner, they literally just end up making terrible choices.
And that is the key. I see the men that can get women, even if they weren't a millionaire, they just have the looks or they don't have the appeal and they got lots of girls in school or in their 20s before they had the money. They can spot the difference between a woman that's worth this and a woman that's not. The man that's never had appeal and made a lot of money, he's the one that is most likely to go down this route. Yeah.
I've seen it, especially here in Dubai. Yeah. Successful guys with endless amounts of money, and the girls will just like get them.
If they didn't grow up getting women, they can get whatever.
And I just watch it and I see how this woman is just literally just draining all of his money, burning all of his money. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got enough to lose, but it's just like this. How can you allow this to happen?
And there's no, they actually enjoy it. Do you know what? Because those men that didn't have access to women, they start to believe that no one actually wants them. So they think this is normal to just give her a lot and then she'll want you. Give her, keep giving her, and then she'll want to be with you forever. But it's the opposite. We actually want the person that we invest in, men and women. We want the person that we actually give to rather than we just take from. But the men that have the money without the experience of women don't realize that. So they lose all their appeal, which is where you get the Jeff Bezoses of the world. Yeah, that's what they end up like.
One thing which is quite interesting and admirable with you, over the past 2 years, you clearly keep your personal relationship and personal life off
Yes.
social media and your business pages,
Yes.
which I guess makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if you are in a relationship and you are known for being a dating coach or a psychologist, everybody's going to be so judgmental of, first of all, who you choose as a partner and just observing how they behave and whether or not you're functioning well or maybe you're having fallouts. Because if they would probably, I would imagine, expect somebody like you to know everything and have the most perfect relationship ever, which I imagine is probably not the case.
Yeah, I mean, look, I could really monetize my relationship. I could really just put him on a podcast, go viral, and make a lot of money from it. And I know I could. And I've had a lot.
Would you let everybody know this is my partner?
He won't let that. I don't know why. I think it was. Well, I remember just like one day being like, oh, you know, he was, because he knows I'm crazy. He's like, if one day if I'm out there and girls DM me or people just want to get under your skin and start just sending me stuff, you will blame me for that moment, which is very true. I would somehow find a way to blame him. So he said he knows that that's what was going to come with it. And also, it's not what he signed up for. It's not what he ever wanted or anything like that. And I think also part of me would be a little bit surprised if he did want to. I'd be a bit strange, like, because it's not the guy I know that I would be like, why do you want to be online? And you know me, I'm possessive. So it's like, why do you want to be? Because the men that do go online and, you know, couple content and stuff like that, I really do think the demise of that is because they're selling a dream that they're really good at being a husband. And then girls start DMing, and you always see these couples that do really well online. They start to...
What I've noticed is those ones that pose the most and give off this image that everything's perfect, it's usually the complete opposite. Like, I've seen it before where there was this couple that would do all these outrageous things, like literally prepare these backdrops to take these romantic pictures and hold each other and kiss. And then in real life, they were literally never intimate together.
And because I have clients that are these couple content, they come to me and they say to me, we haven't had sex in 6 months. He won't touch me. He doesn't even like me, and this, that, and the other. And so they come to me with the truth. So it's the same like people who post a lot of money. There's something not quite adding up. So I think what I've done is been very private with it. I allow a lot of people to be like, oh, she's, you know, single and she's giving advice. I let them say what they need to say. And also I'm careful that it's true. Like, you know, the moment you do, people expect you to be perfect. Nowhere near perfect, especially me, you're nowhere near perfect. So I think I try and avoid just exposing that part because I know they want it so bad.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people don't understand is that they look at me and like, oh, how come I never see you with a partner? Like, assuming that because I'm not posting anything, that means I'm not with somebody.
Yeah, but they must be so interested to know what kind of woman can tame Mike Tyson. Tell us, please. No, what would it take?
There is no magic formula.
Yeah.
It will, if somebody's going to get my interest and it gets to the point where I actually do develop some feelings for them.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's very unexpected.
Okay.
Like, it's not like it's planned or I'm even looking for that at that point in time. You know, it might be the case where I'm like, I'll say to myself, I don't want a relationship right now. And then bam, meet somebody and then flips everything upside down. And
is there something that like she can do that would immediately make you more attached or less attached? Is there some things that would immediately put someone like you off a woman?
I don't like neediness.
Okay.
So being too intense and being too needy to begin with is pretty off-putting.
But do you bring out the neediness in them because of like, are you too independent?
I think so. I think I've noticed what I'm like, and I am independent. I like to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And I've been told numerous times I'm not very good at messaging. Like, that's not my...
Yeah, but what girls will say is you didn't message, but you posted a story or you liked a picture, and
Yeah,
then
but
they go.
But
they'll say,
first of all,
yeah.
actually, yeah, true. Because
They'll say that. They'll say,
Yeah.
well, you got no time to reply, but you got time to like a picture.
Yeah.
So they
yeah,
get
so
annoyed.
that's always a problem. So I think just somebody who lets me do my thing.
Yeah.
Don't cause me any unnecessary drama, because my life there's enough going on as it is.
Yeah.
So, like, if anything, please help me with the things which I've got going on.
But then, because I was so needy, and I've calmed down so much to the point where sometimes I don't even notice what time it's got to, and I haven't even called yet. But I always think, like, do we run the risk of losing you if we're so apart from you? Like, how does a woman know that you're not cheating in those hours, or you're not doing something madness in those hours?
Well, this is the thing. This is what I wanted to get onto, long distance relationships.
Yeah.
Because I think in particular, if you're living in the same place or the same city, maybe the chances of that happening is going to be much less, particularly if you live together.
Yeah.
Now, if you live in separate places, then I think what I've noticed is I need to kind of reassure them that I'm not out.
Okay.
Like, I am at home. I'll send them a picture of me just like doing some work or watching TV or whatever, to let them know that I'm not doing anything that I shouldn't be doing.
Okay. And how do you feel any jealousy when you're apart, or no?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
The healthy amount.
Okay. And how can they make you feel better, like when they're in long distance?
Same thing.
Same thing. Just let them know where you are.
Yeah. I think when there's long periods of time without messaging, that can let the mind wander. So it will happen sometimes with me. I don't intentionally try and do it. Like, I'm not playing games. It's genuinely, I'm literally busy.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of women don't understand is if a guy is trying to get some work done or focus on something, the phone needs to be away.
Otherwise,
it's like, if you want to get in a flow state, you can't be on your phone and doing like 3 things at the same time.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll put my phone somewhere else and I'll just get locked into a task for a couple of hours. So there's been some cases where they might flip out and be like, why did you not reply? I'm literally working.
But is that a common feedback from girls throughout your relationship?
No, it's completely dependent on the girl.
Okay, it depends on the girls. Some girls don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's an interesting thing, because I think each relationship is very different.
Yeah.
Like, I could be dating one person and then I could move on to, another relationship and it'd be completely different.
And is there a reason?
In good and bad ways.
Okay. But is there a common complaint they have about you, or a common compliment?
Yes. Complaint is that I do not talk about my emotions enough or express my emotions enough.
Okay.
Which is an interesting topic, because I don't think men should overly express their emotions. I understand there's a need to sit down and talk, and I don't know if the partner wants to know what you're thinking or feeling, or if you're feeling a certain way, it's important to express it. But I don't think it should come to the point where you're literally voicing every single feeling which you're having, particularly if it's a negative feeling. Like, if I have a lot going on, I'm stressed, maybe I'm a little bit anxious, and I'm like, fuck, like, I've got to make this amount of money in a certain period of time. I don't want to unload all of these problems and concerns to my partner, because then she's going to look at me and maybe I'll look weak or not competent or not able to provide. So in those scenarios, I just bottle it in, keep it to myself. And I want to be seen as a man who can handle his shit.
The thing is, I think men think that women really get repulsed by emotional vulnerability. They're like, oh, women will use it against you.
I think they do.
You know what I will say? It's not that they get repulsed by emotional vulnerability. They get repulsed by emotional volatility, and it's quite different. What vulnerability is like, I'm going through this. You tell them what you're going through, but you've got an answer to the problems. But I'm going to sort it out. Don't worry. I've got this. There's something like the deal didn't go with the house, but don't worry. I'm going to remortgage this place and do this, or this is going on, but I'm problem solving. That's emotional vulnerability. Here's the problem, but don't worry, I'm solving it. Emotional volatility is like
crying,
hysterically complaining about the problem with no solutions. Then she's like, oh, what's the point of crying about this when we can't do anything? Whereas when you've got a problem but you're solving it, then they feel like they're close to you. Yeah. So that's when they're repulsed, it's more because you're complaining about things that you haven't either figured out the solution to, or there is no solution to.
So there's that, and then the attention that I get.
Oh yeah, the attention. Oh god, it's tough being hot, isn't it? Like, it must be so distracting to be a handsome man, like, wherever you go. How do you stay faithful?
It's a great question.
Yeah, how do you?
Because I think
do
for
you
sure,
stay faithful?
Yeah, I'm not. I've made mistakes in the past. I've not always been faithful. But I think for sure, as a man becomes more successful, climbs the social ladder,
Mm-hmm.
he gets more money, he has more options.
Yeah.
And then there's the saying, I wanted to ask you about that saying, is that a man is only as faithful as the options that he has.
I don't know if that's totally true, because there's some men that, like, let's say when you do get married, I would imagine men that have had so many options throughout their life, when they finally find a good one, they can kind of close off because they know what every woman's tasted like. And usually most women taste the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a man that's never had options and finally gets them, I think you need to worry more about him. So it's not the options that's actually a problem. It's the ability to say no to options is really what you should be looking for. Has that person, man or woman, got the ability to say no to options? And if they don't have that ability, just like with people with weight issues, they don't have the ability to say no to food. The moment you can't say no to temptation, you are always going to be someone who's difficult. But like another man with your options would probably be 100 times worse if he didn't have the ability. So it just depends on his ability to reject options.
It's very similar to the gym and diet. Like if you want to look a certain way, there's sacrifices, and you have to say no to temptation. And the majority of the time will say no to temptation. Going out, walking past the bakery, like whatever it might be, like I, like everybody else, is faced with certain temptation, but I'm disciplined and I say no. And the resulting aftermath of that is that I look the way that I want to look. And whereas when it comes to relationships, of course, you will get that temptation, but you're in control of how much you expose yourself to that temptation. So, like, when I'm at home, I'm not going to stock my cupboards full of junk food. Because the chances of me cheating on my diet is going to be pretty high. Same thing if I constantly go out to parties, or I'm putting myself in environments where there's going to be a load of women who are on the lookout for something. Like, how long can I try and
but I would imagine, like, how you stock up your house with chocolate and you're going to break your diet. If you stock up your house with pornography and Instagram girls, do you think that that's going to end up breaking your diet the same way? Like,
pornography is not an issue. I think it's just
not for you, but men in general. Do you think?
I don't know, because I don't know how much men are actually watching porn. I think there are a lot, but I think it's more so maybe the options that men are keeping open. Because I think this is the issue with women as well. I think a lot of the problems that we have is, even though we might be in a relationship, we still subconsciously want to keep all of our options available in case this doesn't work out. And I've been guilty of this before.
And men that do that, they attract women who do that. They end up attracting each other. So I'll have so many clients that come to me and saying, I was so loyal to him, but then I saw that he kept following new girls. So now I'm talking to my ex. Or I was so into him, but then I saw he kept liking pictures. So now I'm keeping my options open. So they trigger each other and they stay with each other, but they usually find each other. And that's where the toxicity comes from, because neither of them want to close their options because they don't trust each other enough. So that's where.
And it is a big thing to get into a relationship and then end every past fling you've had or whatever it might be. It's
hard. Okay. So
because you've got to say, like, look, I'm in a relationship now, like, just please don't message me.
What's so difficult about that? Because one thing
because
I
you
noticed,
could be like genuinely friends with people. It can be quite lonely, because when you're single, you can have multiple casual relationships and actually be good friends with these people. So you've got like a variety of different friendships. Whereas when you're in a relationship, it's like, okay, you are ending all those relationships and committing to one person.
And that's difficult.
It can be.
Because since I've been online and I see, like, I get so many messages and the person can be famous, not famous, whatever it is, it's never, not even a tiny bit tempted me. And I don't know why. I think I've become more reclusive because of that than I have become interested or intrigued. And I think what it boils down to with me is I understand how cheap attention actually is. Because I speak to men every day. I know how many women they message in a day. I know how easy I am replaceable. I know I'm not special to any of these people. So to me, getting a thrill out of their messages doesn't make any sense, because I know what it truly means. So I think when I understand what attention actually means, I become more like, is so meaningless and fleeting. And I think if people understood what, temptation, the sacrifice it involves, like you're breaking a relationship, you're not focused on and so forth, is huge for a cheap thrill. It's usually not worth it. Yeah. But for some people it's super worth it. But for me personally, it's not worth it.
Well, I think when you made the decision where you get into a relationship and you genuinely want this relationship to work, I don't think it does become that much of an issue.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I think you just maybe you change the type of things that you're posting, or you're changing the places that you're going to. Like I notice if I'm trying to be good, I'm trying to avoid drama, I don't want any problems, then I'm probably not going to go out as much.
Yeah.
Like, there'll be a group of my single friends who are like, hey, do you want to come go to this party? And I'm like,
trying to avoid it.
I mean, it would be nice to see my friends, and I like listening to the music that they're playing at these events, but
do girls really come forward with you? Yeah. What's it like on a typical night out with Mike Thurston? What happens?
Well, it starts off, I'm always just with the boys.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's like, most of the time it's the best part.
Yeah.
Because you're just catching up with the boys, having a laugh, and maybe having a few drinks. Not that I drink that much anyway. And then as the night progresses, all of a sudden, just random girls start turning up to the table, like talking to everybody, getting drinks. And then maybe they'll come and try and talk to me, but the majority of the time, I won't be interested.
Okay.
First of all, because you don't know who the hell's watching. Like, there's people there that know people. Everybody's observing my behavior.
Everyone knows you,
Yeah. So I'm behaving as though I'm literally on camera.
Yeah.
And then generally, I don't really have interest in meeting these types of women that are on these nights out.
Okay.
Because they're going on these nights out regularly, and they're just they're after like the wrong type of guy.
Yeah, so it's difficult for guys out here.
So usually for me, if I'm in a relationship or on my best behavior, I'll either don't go or I go for a few hours, see the guys, and I'll leave.
Okay, that's not so bad then.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's doable.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's always an issue though if I sometimes go with a partner.
Okay.
There's a lot of blow-ups on nights out. Now, this is either caused by alcohol and emotions being charged, or if I get some attention from a female, but it'd be a friend. It's not like anything bad. So it could be somebody who I've not seen for a while. There was an example where went out. I was waiting for her. She went to the toilet. I was just stood there. I was like, please, can you hurry up and come out from the toilet? Because people are starting to come up to me.
It's starting to get
because usually I'd get a table and I'm out of the way of everyone. And then these two girls come up to me. One of them was like a yacht broker who I rent yachts off, or have done in the past. Another one was a girl I went to university with. So I was like, oh my God, yeah, it's so nice to see you. She comes out the toilet, sees me talking to two girls, storms off. I'm like, oh my God, like this is not what you think it is.
Yeah.
But it kind of looks that way.
Yeah.
And it's just a drama.
And it gets toxic after that?
It depends who it is.
Okay.
Like a mature person who understands will be like, he's just talking to some girls, like, doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
Whereas somebody who maybe is more insecure, not in control of their emotions, they would feel this onset of jealousy, wouldn't be able to handle it, and their response would be storm off, cause a problem.
So then it just depends on the type of woman that you have.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I've realized that if I'm going to be with someone, they have to be
very secure.
Have to be very secure, very laid back, and just not get easily worked up about something.
Okay.
Like if I'm with somebody and a guy goes and talks to her, I'm not going to flip out and go and smack that guy. I'm not that type of person.
Yeah.
But I will observe how she behaves. If she is laughing and flirting and actually talking for quite some time, I'm like, this is pretty disrespectful. Whereas if she's literally being polite, but body language is showing not interested, and then it's just like, okay, I'm going to go to Mike.
Okay, so
then I'm like, cool,
reasonable with it.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you manage to meet girls that are reasonable, or do they end up being?
Yes,
it's just a mix.
It's been a huge mix.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So how's it going for you? Like, what as a man that's dating, what do you need to how can I help you? Tell me.
Okay, so one thing I wanted to discuss was long distance relationships, because I find that quite interesting. I don't know if they can work. I feel like, so I did a bit of research on this to try and figure out if it could work, because I did meet someone last year based in Spain, and tried to make it work, but there was problems, issues, as it came to no surprise really. But one thing which I noticed is if you start a relationship and you're already starting out the relationship from a distance, it's very difficult to kind of make it work. However, if you've been in a relationship for 6 months, a year, or whatever,
and
then there's a period of distance between you,
it's not a problem.
yeah, you're in a much stronger position to make it work. And I realized that it's basically a case of you need to have a lot of trust, a hell of a lot of trust, and communication is very important. There needs to be a lot of reassurance that you
have to get to a stage in a relationship where you owe each other loyalty. That can't happen when you just met someone, had a really great 2-3 weeks, and then you go your separate ways. You don't know if you owe each other loyalty yet. So once you've established that, like, payment plan, like, do we owe each other loyalty, it's not so problematic. But the key thing is that you have to know that you're actually committed to each other. And the other thing is the sex drive of your partner. If it's super high, they're not going to be loyal to you. On both cases, there's just not. It's better to be real with yourself. If you're a man that has a high libido, if you're a woman that has a high libido, and you're getting into a long distance relationship, you're not going to be able to go 4-6 weeks, whatever it is. You've got to be honest with yourself before you enter a long distance relationship.
Have you ever been in that situation?
Well, we go back and forth because it's London and Dubai, so we go back and forth, but it's never too long. It's
how long?
3 weeks, 2-3 weeks.
Yes, I think I've realized you need to see each other every 2 to 3 or 4 weeks push.
Yes, 4 weeks is a push.
If it's longer than that, it's what I've noticed is it's like the spark dies a little bit.
Yeah, especially if you haven't established it properly before. Yeah.
And then you meet up again, you reignite the spark, and then it just kind of goes.
Yeah, and your texts get boring and stuff like that.
It's like how can you have these conversations and spice it up a little bit?
Yeah. And do you call a lot, or are you more of a texter?
Well, I'm terrible at texting, I think.
So do you call regularly?
Yeah.
With that, okay. So you do have your check-ins.
Yeah. And I think that's important. I think what was very interesting is it makes a big difference if you video call each other.
Yeah.
Because that's a next level step up from just a voice call.
But why would you choose to be in a long distance relationship, considering you've got so many options and stuff? Why would you make that selection?
Maybe I caught the feels.
Okay, but maybe you prefer distance.
Well, this is one thing which is interesting, because with the distance, you
have a bit
appreciate each other more when you are together. And you actually miss each other.
Okay.
If you live, there's one thing I've noticed when couples live together is they end up getting sick of each other because they're always around each other, and they don't know what it's like to not be with that person. So I think it's healthy to have distance from each other. I mean, it could be a couple of days, I don't know, but to have the distance, it makes you miss them, and then you're together and it's like really good. You appreciate each other. And
you don't get like lonely or tempted during that time apart?
I don't get lonely because I'm
busy.
Well, I'm busy, and I've got to the point now where it might actually be a downside, is I actually like living by myself. Yeah. I'm so happy with my own company.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm ever really lonely, because I have a team of people who I work with. My job is it's quite social. I'm always...
Yeah, this is a problem with people in Dubai. I notice more than anything, because people who do get married and settle down very quickly and kind of go from relationship to relationship, it's not so much that they meet the love of their life or the person they love and want to spend the rest of their life with. It's more of a case of they're really uncomfortable with being alone, super, super uncomfortable. And if you don't have that in you, it becomes difficult to fully commit, because you have to compete with their life that they've created by themselves. And people in Dubai in particular, being alone is amazing. Like, you can get up and do whatever you want. It's not that same feeling. Whereas when I land in London and I see the weather outside, and I'm thinking, if I lived alone in somewhere like London, imagine having no social contact. You can't even go to the shops without...
I experienced that when I lived in London, particularly the first 2 years were... And I was in a long distance relationship at that point. Yeah. They were probably the loneliest 2 years of my life, because I'd gone from living in a household full of people since university all the way up until 26. And then I decided to make the move from Newcastle to London. And then that was the first time I'd ever lived by myself. And I hadn't prepared myself for what that would be like.
No,
and because I was in a long distance relationship, I didn't go out and socialize because I was like, why do I want to go and put myself in a situation? I'll just stay at home and work. So my work went amazing. No distractions, completely focused. Social life, terrible.
When I land in the UK, I completely understand why people are in toxic relationships. I completely get it. Because in Dubai, if you're in a toxic relationship, you just end it and go enjoy your life. You go to dinners, you go out, you go that. You don't have time for this. And if you're in a toxic relationship, you might do it for a little while, but you end it because there's so many alternatives. As soon as I land in the UK, I'm like, no wonder people stay with people they hate, because the alternative of being by yourself, it's cold, it's dark, it's miserable outside, you're not going anywhere, is also too difficult. So it's your environment also plays a big role in whether or not you commit to people. People think it's just you meet the love of your life, but you have to meet the love of your life and be uncomfortable with being single at the same time. You have to meet the right person and have a discomfort. If you are comfortable being single and meet the love of your life, it won't stick. So you need the balance of the two, the right person and a discomfort in your single life.
Well, what advice would you give to somebody who has lived alone for a very long time? They like living alone, but they get into a relationship, and that shift from being alone to living with someone can be a very big change. And they might not even like it. Would you suggest that it might be beneficial for those two people to have their own places in the same city?
Well, I always say to people, because in this day and age, people are getting really comfortable living alone. It's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's the reality of it. If you feel like you're better off being by yourself, you're better off selecting somebody. If you want to have kids, but become a co-parent with each other rather than actually committing to marriage. If you don't like living with somebody and being with them all day, every day, maybe find a different way to build a family or build a home. But marriage isn't for everybody. And I tell everybody that, because sometimes I'll have clients that say, oh, my wife and I were trying again. And I was like, have you stopped cheating? No, I haven't stopped cheating. Have you stopped wanting to live separately? Have you started wanting intimacy? No, we haven't slept together yet. Then why do you want to be married? So it's okay to accept that maybe you don't want to be married. Maybe you think you should, but if you prefer living alone, if you prefer multiple partners, if you prefer doing your own thing, you're not really crafted for marriage. So it's better just to be like, maybe I don't want to be married, but I do want to have kids. Find someone you can co-parent with. Find an alternative rather than pushing yourself into marriage or relationships. It doesn't work anyway.
I think one of the things I've struggled with is just the partner understanding that I need a bit of space. I like time alone to think, reflect, plan, listen to podcasts, and just work. Like, I think I've realized I'm the type of person that does not work very well when there's people around. Like, if I need to
solitude,
zone in, I need to be alone. And often they could take that as a bit of an insult. They're like, oh, why doesn't he want to be around me? Why doesn't he want to spend time with me? And I think one thing I've realized is it's the type of people and what they want from a relationship. Like, if there is a clingy person or needy person that needs to be around their partner all the time, I am not the guy for you.
Do you remember last time we spoke about this? You have an avoidant attachment. Do you remember what that was? It's like you need your own space. You kind of you don't like emotional connection. But if a girl does want to bond with somebody like you, who's an avoidant attachment style, the better thing that they can do to get your connection is people with your attachment style. You bond more through problem solving and working together than actually emotional, intimate conversations. So a conversation about feelings and where the relationship is going doesn't work well. But if it's a conversation about, like, I've got this problem, what shall I do? Or we need to build something together, they're more likely to become attached to you. So that's why some of the reasons why avoidant men end up with a lot of gold diggers is because gold diggers give them a lot of problems to solve. They'll say, my rent is due, my car is not working, my mum needs her bills paid because she's single. And they're like, okay, perfect, now leave me alone. So they bond more when a woman gives them stress and they have to solve the stress and solve the stress. And even sexually, like, give him some stress and he solves the stress. So if she's always enjoying it and is always up for it and always available, he'll lose sexual attraction to her. But if she's like, I need this more, I need that more, this is not good enough, blah, blah, he's actually more likely to bond with her than somebody who just pleasantly enjoys it.
Have you ever done the love language test?
Yes, yeah. What's yours? Space.
Acts of service.
You like a woman that gives you acts of service?
Yeah, but that sounds like weird. But it's somebody who would do something or take action that would help me out or make my life easier, like a thoughtful action. I noticed, like, because when you do this test, you get asked all these questions, and these, like, getting words of affirmation, I don't really care about that.
It doesn't mean anything.
Physical touch. I mean, I like a hug. It's nice to be intimate, but I don't need you to be touching me. So it's not that. I don't know what the other two.
Quality time.
Quality time. Yeah, that was quite high.
And presence.
don't care about presents.
Yeah.
Like if I get a gift, like
Mhm.
I'm like,
What am I going to do with it?
I much prefer a thoughtful gift than her
Mhm.
spending all her money on something because I don't need anything.
Okay. Praise be to God. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. You like acts of
acts of
service.
service.
And then,
So that was quite interesting for me. And I think it's quite good for a lot of couples to do,
yeah.
especially maybe at the beginning, because then you figure out like
What works
what
best for
that
you.
person likes.
Yeah.
Like imagine, I'm getting to know somebody, she keeps buying me gifts
Yeah.
and
it's
saying all
useless.
these things, like complimenting me. I'm like,
Yeah. Do you know what I would say is I'm the same way. I hate compliments. I almost feel like it's a bit like, okay, like let's get to a real conversation. This is
Yeah.
a bit stupid. But people who didn't get a lot of compliments growing up and aren't told that they're attractive, they like die for compliments.
Mhm.
So it's almost the cheapest way to impress somebody. Somebody with low confidence, give them lots of compliments. It's like a shortcut to getting attachment to them because they just get so attached to words. Whereas if you've already had, you're all right, you don't need someone telling you
Yeah.
you're beautiful and you're attractive. It's almost a bit cringe. So I think people, especially when they're around attractive people, they think they need to remind them of that, but because they like it. But yeah, it doesn't mean anything to you. Yeah. And do you know the other thing is people who don't like a lot of touch, it's usually because when they were growing, like didn't get a lot from family, kisses and stuff like that. So it's actually uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Again, they bond better with problem solving, like here's a problem, let's solve it for each other, or let's be on a same team, than they do like kisses and hugs and stuff like that. So basically, it makes you quite incompatible to a girl.
What?
Your love letter. So like kisses and compliments, this is what girls usually like to do. Yeah. So do you find that you're closer to your male friends than you are to, are you around, is it like a brotherhood that you're more?
No, I like being
with women.
Yeah. But obviously it just depends like what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's interesting because, as you said, like they would be treating me the way they want to be treated.
Yeah.
Which probably not always going to work.
No, definitely not.
Like especially some women who they love just having deep conversations about emotions and feelings. I hate that.
And I hate men that like that. Yeah. Do you know what's so weird? I know, like, because sometimes I'll get clients and be like, she's an avoidant attachment and she's got these traumas and she's got that. And I'm just thinking, that's really feminine that you even know all of this. It's better that you just actually, you have to be somewhat emotionally, you have to be emotionally intelligent, but not too emotionally available. And what I mean by that is you can read when she's upset. You can read when she needs you. You can read when she needs kisses, hugs. You read her. But when you're too emotionally available, it's like you're almost joining in with her trauma, joining in with her stress. And it's almost a bit like you become like a sister. So I think they don't know the line between being emotionally intelligent and emotionally available, and they almost get too emotionally available and it becomes feminine.
Here's something I wanted to talk about. Protest behavior.
Yes.
Because I didn't know it existed. I'd never come across it before until I was doing a bit of preparation for this. And the more I looked into it, I was like, I think I dated somebody like that.
Okay, yeah.
So I have a quote here.
Yeah.
Protest behavior is a form of indirect communication. You want something from the other person, possibly some kind of soothing response to a negative emotion you are feeling. But rather than ask for what you want directly, you've chosen to do something else because it's easier and safer in the hopes that they get the message anyway and do what you want. This sets you up for a potential cycle of resentment because you have no guarantee that they actually understand your message and the embedded request will go unfulfilled.
Shall I translate?
Yes.
Yeah, so what protest behavior is you're trying to get a reaction out of your partner, but you're doing it in a manipulative and indirect way. So you're essentially giving them the opposite tools that they need to actually calm you down. So what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, I haven't heard from you all day. And instead of just messaging and saying, babe, I haven't heard from you, are you okay? What I'll do is post on my story and pretend that I'm really busy, or block, or do something the opposite of what I truly want. I really want connection, but I'll make connection difficult. I'll pretend I'm out. I'll pretend I'm busy. I'll do the exact opposite of what I need from you. Or let's say I want commitment from you. I want you to label it. Instead of saying like, where is this going? Where is this going? What is it going? I might do something like, let me go make him jealous and get with another guy, and he'll get jealous and say, can you marry me? It's you'll get the opposite of what you truly want in your relationship because you're playing games. And people who play games attract people who play games. Yeah. And as a result, they're constantly in a cycle and they're never really on the same team. So it's very counterproductive to a relationship.
Yeah, I think it was the first time I'd experienced something like that.
What did they do?
I was second guessing everything. I was like, am I doing something wrong here? Like there was, I will list a couple of things which were
makes sense.
Red flags in my opinion. There was one time when, where were we? We were in Rome. And she'd gone to the toilet. I was on my phone and I was just waiting. And I remember getting really distracted by something I'd seen. It was something, I think I remember it exactly. It was Donald Trump had put it was a post about Donald Trump, and that he was bringing out his own line of watches. I was like, what the fuck? Anyway, obviously we're in Rome, so everyone's speaking Italian, and I heard this woman say something Italian. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't realize it was her talking to me, but she was speaking in Italian because she was just like being playful. I completely ignored it, obviously, and then she thought that I was ignoring her. Massively overreacted and stormed off. So I'm there just thinking, oh, okay, she's
Instead of clarifying.
So then I try and go up to her and I'm like talking as if things are normal. And then she's like, no, I'm not happy with you. And then walks off. We walk home, 30 minutes, not a single word was spoken.
Over that?
Yeah.
How old is this person? Are they young?
34.
Oh, so an adult.
Yes.
Yeah. So not a child. Okay.
So like baffling behavior. Then we get home and then she's just ignoring me and then just aggressively swiping through Instagram. I'm like, what the hell has just gone on here?
Okay. Was there any like divorced parents or anything like that, or any lack of father figure or lack of
father figure?
Lack of father
and
figure. Yeah.
Mother passed away.
Oh, double. Okay. Okay. Then that's going to happen. Yeah, that is what it is. Like, the thing is, like, a lot of men, they focus purely on the woman and they don't look at her background. And same with women, they'll focus entirely on a man and not look at his parents and what they taught him. And if you have it from both ends, which unfortunately she did, sadly, the reactions to any form of abandonment are so extreme because it's a reminder of like a previous wound. So unfortunately, those people can't communicate because they maybe never had somebody to communicate to that would actually care or listen. So they end up just reacting like a child would. Like, you know, when you take a toy off a child and they overreact and they don't actually communicate, they go back to that state. So unfortunately, people with a lot of trauma and a lot of abandonment, they can't communicate well. Yeah. And you can try it.
But the funny thing was how that person would say to me, you need to communicate more.
Yeah.
Talking about the importance of communication. Whereas whenever they had something upset them, they would refuse to communicate and they would give me the silent treatment.
Yeah.
But if you give me the silent treatment, then I know something is wrong. I want to discuss and say, hey, what's wrong? But they don't want to talk about it because they give me silent treatment. And then it just ruins my day.
They do studies on this and they have found, like the Gottmans did find that one of the key factors that leads to a divorce is people who use silent treatment because they're not doing it. Depends how you're using it. If you're using silent treatment just to calm down and then collect your thoughts and then say, excuse, like, this is what happened. Can we do this in future? No problem. But the people that use silent treatment more to punish their partner or to get their partner to realize how angry they are, all they do is create more resentment. Now you're not fighting about the real thing. You're fighting about the silent treatment. So you forgot the real cause of the argument, which may have been a misunderstanding. Now it becomes like you ruined the whole day and then the whole relationship starts to demise. So silent treatment people, they're usually quite emotionally immature.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the biggest frustrations. Because
do you give silent treatment as well or no?
No.
Okay.
If I have a problem or an issue, I'll just raise it with them.
Yeah.
It's usually the best way because otherwise I'm just going to go for a long period of time
and
just resenting that person
and ruin both of our days from
like
that.
The last thing I need is negative vibes.
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed when you are in a relationship, particularly if you really like that person, when things are good, both on good terms, life is amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's just a heightened level of happiness. But when things are bad and when things aren't good, it's really not good. And I hate that.
But do you think guys need a bit of back and forth in order to attach to a woman? Or like
I think you need a little bit of a dance.
Yeah.
Like one pushes a little bit, the other moves away, but like you're moving backwards and forwards and you're dancing, but not to the extremes.
Not to the point where you're losing respect for each other.
Yeah. Because especially with what I do, you know, you got to be on camera, do podcasts, do videos. You have to bring the energy and be positive.
Yeah.
And when things are not going great in your relationship,
it has such an impact.
It's like, fuck, like you really have to, you can't like not think about it.
Yeah, it hijacks your brain. So you almost become, and what a good relationship does is almost like having your brain set free. What a good relationship will do is every moment you're in, you're enjoying that moment because something's not in the back of your mind stressing you out. Whereas a bad relationship or a toxic relationship, it literally just kind of hijacks your mind, hijacks your emotions, and every single activity you're engaging in the back of your mind, you've got this sinking feeling. And some people have been in that toxic relationship for so long, they don't even know that that's abnormal. normal.
Yeah.
They just think that's part of their day, to wake up with this anxious feeling, or wake up and check when the partner's last seen and play a game about that. So it is, unfortunately, if you're in that toxic state, it's not how relationships should feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just little things like, for example, if I'm busy and I don't reply for a couple of hours, she would flip out.
Yeah.
She'd be like, why are you not replying to me? And then I'd be like, okay, I need to make more of a conscious effort to reply to that person.
Yeah.
So then I would do that. And then she would go off for 5 or 6 hours and not reply to me. And like, so beforehand, I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, she's busy, she's doing
Yeah.
her own thing. But if that person has now made it clear they don't like that,
Yeah.
and then you go and just do that at the same time, I'm like, what the fuck?
Can I give you a cheat sheet? If you do meet these kind of anxious women, the key is the first 3
Run
months.
away.
No. Yeah, well, you can do that because it's not easy. But the first 6 to 7 weeks is the most important, because you'll get her period, you'll get all of her emotions. Up until her period, you don't really know a woman, so you need to see her through the ranges. So the first 6 to 7 weeks, you just invest in those 6 to 8 weeks where you're consistent, you're caring, you're all of those things. And then what she'll learn is that you are going to come back. It doesn't mean you go consistent and then cold. It just means that you set the pace, like you put in the work in the first month or two. And then when you do need to be busier, she'll know that you're trying. Like you're not doing this on purpose. But in the first couple of weeks, you make her feel anxious. That might be mentioning an ex. It might be like following girls on Instagram. Or in the first couple of weeks, you do that, or you don't reply on time. She won't say anything in the first couple of weeks, but she'll hold it. So she won't build the trust. And then later, she overreacts to everything.
I mean, I certainly wasn't an angel. Not that I cheated, but there was some things I did where I was like, oh, that fucking did
If you
not
look
help.
at the first 4 weeks of your relationship, there'll be some groundwork that created the
Tell
anxiety.
you one thing that was not cool with being friends with my ex.
Understandable?
But can you still be friends with your ex?
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, because here's what I would say to people.
Jay Shetty would disagree. I need to show you that.
Does he say that?
Yeah, we said it depends. There needs to be like emotional maturity and something else.
Here's what I would say. You can. It's not the end of the world. And some people really do have nothing with their exes, especially if they're co-parenting. There was
nothing sexual,
nothing.
But it was just like, if I see them, I'll say, hey, the odd message will be sent.
Some people really have nothing left with their exes. But what I would say is that if you are a strong enough character, or if you've got a life worth living, you don't need to hold on to relationships that have run their course. And that's friendships and exes. Now, especially if those relationships have a negative impact on your relationships. So one of the things with avoidance, what they'll say in the first couple of weeks is they'll speak highly of an ex. They create that anxiety. In the first 4 weeks, they would have done small things that created that anxiety. It would have been mentioning an ex. It would have been delayed responses. It would have been following new girls on Instagram. It would be something that sets the pace. And then they just stay anxious. And instead of leaving and communicating, they just got overreactions to what he does next. So what I would say is with exes, men or women, what I would say is if it's going to cause such a negative impact on your relationship, is it worth it? And some people just want to hold on to the ex because they think the ex is a symbol of their independence. You can't tell me what to do. But relationships do involve some sacrifices. And if one of them is exes, it's a healthy sacrifice to make.
Yeah,
unless it's a co-parent.
There was something which I did. Probably this was a mistake.
Yes, see, there's always the avoidant man creates this crazy woman. Yeah, so it's a dynamic.
Yeah, so there was a friend who was in town. Been friends with him for years, and we're in this similar business, social media, YouTube, things like that. And they'd say, "Oh, we should catch up." And I was like, "This is when I'm obviously seeing this person. I'm like, don't really want to be spending too much time with them, but." Okay, we'll catch up and we'll have a dinner, and like that's that. So went out, had food, a couple hours, and then I came home.
Was that a girl?
Yes.
Okay.
Problem was, she's pretty hot. So the biggest mistake that I made was she asked me, she's like, "Oh, what are we doing tonight?" And I said, "Oh, I think I'm just going to go see some friends." So I lied about what I was doing.
Yeah.
Reason why I lied was because I knew if I told the truth, it would cause this unnecessary explosion and drama, and the fact that she was a good looking girl, she's just going to assume that something's going on and all this bullshit. I was like, look, I don't want to deal with this. It is literally nothing, so I'm just going to I'll do it, and I'll just tell a little lie saying that I'm doing something else. Guess what happened?
She posted?
No. A waitress at the restaurant knew the girl I was seeing.
Oh, what are the chances of that happening? Wasn't a girl in a different country?
This girl
was in a different country.
No, it's the long distance. relationship.
you were in a restaurant in Dubai?
Yeah.
And the waitress in Dubai knew your girlfriend in another country?
Yeah.
See,
So-
God was trying to catch you out that
So
day.
obviously she reports back saying Mike's at
Yeah.
dinner with a girl. Looks like I'm on a date.
Mm.
That was, and I think after that
So
point,
then why are you why are you surprised that the relationship was so hostile?
I know what I'm saying. That's like,
Yeah.
that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made.
Okay. If you're with a person who's super secure, they can let go of these things. But with an anxious person, they're just going to hold it, and keep attacking you for the next 6 months. So it's probably better to cut your losses when you create too much anxiety in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how much do you share with your partner? Because there's, you can't, if you overshare, sometimes you're just going to be showing them or telling them things which
makes them anxious.
Yeah, and like, imagine if I'm in a relationship with a really beautiful girl, and all the time she tells me about the guys that are hitting on her and the guys that are DMing her, and every encounter with every guy that hit on her.
Yeah, but that's usually insecure women do that.
I don't really need to know all of that. But then that's them just wanting to share how their day was.
They say they want to share, but really they want to remind you that they've got options. It's an insecure trait. Secure women in general, they expect to be hit on all day, every day. They don't see that as news to report to a man or to anybody, friends, family. They don't see it. Insecure women, that's a moment for them in their day. So they have to report back to it. So I would honestly say people who really feel the need to report back every time they're hit on or every time somebody shows them attention, they don't get enough attention. Or they're just too excited by attention. It's a dopamine hit for them. When you're so used to attention and DMs and so on and so forth, they don't provide you with enough dopamine for you to even report back because you don't remember it. So I would say people who feel the need to do that, they're still a bit insecure. Yeah, a bit too insecure. So I would say those don't need to be reported. If who's got time to just share all of those things? But if it's something where it could be like, this person's trying something and I felt unsafe, or this made me uncomfortable, then it's fine. But if it's just this person hit on me and I feel really excited about it, what's the point of saying it? Or it's just, I think it's more of a case of trying to make you feel like they've got options because maybe they think you've got lots of options. So it's probably a game with you. You probably extract a lot of insecurities out of women. Because usually the women are the ones that the guys have to worry about, that he's going to hit on my girl. But if you're dealing with somebody in your position, she has to worry. And that's a rare position for a woman to be in, especially if she's attractive. She's not used to that situation. Yeah. So probably you ignite some of their insecurities.
We'll get back to the podcast in a second. But first of all, I want to say a massive shout out to Bionic. I have been using their supplements for the past 4 years. I never knew what supplements I needed to take. I'd always go into the pharmacy and buy a load of random bottles and end up popping pills all day, every day, not having a clue if I was consuming the vitamins which I should be consuming at all. But Bionic came to save the day. They are a tailor-made supplement company that will put together your own specific formula based on your activity, your gender. I have Bionic Pro, where I get the blood test done every 3 to 4 months, and based on that blood test, I get my own personalized formula. For those people who don't want to do a blood test or don't have access to that, then you can go with Bionic Go, where you just have to fill in a short questionnaire, and based on that questionnaire, you will get your tailored supplements with a surprisingly high degree of accuracy. So stop the guesswork, sign up to Bionic, and ensure that you remove those deficiencies and build up your immune system.
What do you think about partners and going through each other's phones? Do you have a...
I have a very blanket rule about this. If you go through your partner's phone, only do it if you're going to leave them that day. Yeah, that day you're leaving, your bags are packed, you're on your way, you're to the airport, and you just think, let me just check it just to make sure he's a piece of shit. And then you quickly check it and you go home, right? But if you do it even a day before you're ready to leave your partner, even one day before you're ready, you are going to be a bitch for the rest of that relationship. And what I mean by that is, if you, everybody, myself included, you, everybody, there's something that my partner or you, I would see in his phone, he would see in my phone, that would make him uncomfortable. But probably not an offense that would make him break up or me break up, but something that would make us uncomfortable. If we see it, we're just going to be uncomfortable, resent each other, but we're not going to break up. So we just induced toxicity into the relationship. But if I'm going to break up with you and I see it, doesn't matter. I'm going anyway. What I notice is every single time I have clients that check their partner's phone, find something incriminating.
Which you always
will.
Yeah.
They stay with each other. Now one of them becomes like she gets confident, like, oh, you saw it and you're still here, you're not going anywhere. They actually start doing it more because they think you saw it and you didn't go anywhere. Now I've got you locked. But the person who checked is now even more anxious and even more insecure. So it just makes one person more secure and one person feel more invincible. So it creates a dynamic that you don't want, especially when you're a man checking and you see something you don't like, you're going to stay with her, but then accuse her. What's the point?
Yeah, I had a friend of
Do you
mine.
check first?
No.
Never. Yeah, I mean,
I never ask.
Mhm.
And I don't want to know because I'm going to find something that's going to annoy me or like
Everybody will.
I'll not be able to stop thinking about it
Yeah.
probably. If you go back far enough through these conversations that they've had with
Everyone.
guys, there's going to be, even if it's like a little bit of harmless flirting, which really didn't mean anything, you won't be comfortable with it.
Nobody will. But I would say that the key to me not going through my partner's phone is because I would need to know that the phone is not this sacred thing that they lock and hide away from me. So the phone behavior and etiquette has to be somewhat positive as well. We're not going to go through each other's phone. It's not going to be accessible. I'm not going to go through it, but it's somewhat available. Like if I need to order food from it, he needs to order food from mine, no problem. But if it's like my phone is this sacred thing, it can arouse. Are you sacred with your phone or are you quite open?
In between, I would say.
Then that might be the reason why they like to go through it. Because when you see a phone that's always there, you're less like, if you want to cheat on your partner, here's a quick trick. Make your phone look like it's not a problem. They're less likely to want to go through it. Whenever you're a bit secretive with it, they start to get suspicious.
Here's a problem though, because my job requires me to be on my phone quite a lot.
Yeah.
I have a team of like 10 people who I communicate with regularly. So this is one thing I've noticed. If I'm with my partner, what I will try to do is be on it for as little amount of time that I could possibly be on it. But when there's situations, if we're on vacation or this long distance relationship, when that person comes to see me or I go to see them, it's like, okay, we have a limited amount of time, a couple of days or maybe a week where we're together. As each day goes by, I'm doing the work is piling up because I've ignored everybody.
So now I need to focus.
It's like there's a lot of things that needs to be taken care of. So then as time goes on, I'm like going on my phone a little bit more. I remember this was the case, I think, towards the end of this week where we'd been together. It was the start of the year. There was like a load of things that were launching, especially with like new fitness programs and things. And I have like community areas which I need to manage. So I was like on and off my phone. And then that was making them think like, who is he talking to? And it's like, look, I'm not talking to anyone. This is my work, and there's things
can you
that need
see
to be
it's a
handled.
combination of everything? It's the phone plus the little things and blah blah. It's the combination. So men like to think, oh no, but look, it's my phone thing. My issue is the phone. But usually it's a deeper issue where there's a disconnect in general, or there's a reason for them feeling a bit insecure in general, and we need to address the underlying insecurities rather than just the phone in that moment. Yeah, there's an underlying issue. So when you do see your partner going through your phone or wanting to, the better thing to say is like, what's really going on? Like, have I made you feel a certain way? Is something going on in our relationship? Because why would you even need to? We only need to when we start being suspicious. But instead of going through the phone, communicate. Don't go through the phone.
Yeah, but the problem is like the way that you're speaking there, and it's very calm, common sense. That's the way to start a conversation.
Yeah.
I've experienced it before where they would come into this conversation with negative energy.
Yeah.
It's like accusation, ready to fight, ready for conflict.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you think this conversation is going to go down when you're approaching it with that? If you give me that energy, I'm going to give you that energy back. And then it's not going to be a constructive conversation. It's just going to erupt. There's going to be emotions. There'll be tears.
I know.
And that's, I think, one thing that a lot of people need to understand, particularly if anybody's trying to have a constructive talk with me or has concerns with me, it's like,
come to me soft.
Just come to me soft with some common sense and just express how you're feeling. And then you've set the tone for how this conversation is going to go down.
Well, the thing is, when people come with that energy, and I'm someone who's done that many times, you're so angry, you want them to be angry. You want the fight. You want them to feel as uncomfortable as you're feeling in that moment, because you're like, I've been stewing on this for ages. I'm now furious. I want to get that out of you. So maybe if they do come to you like that, disarm them. Just be like, what's wrong? Like, instead of getting defensive, because they should be soft, you should be softer with it. But if they are, disarm them with being like, tell me what's actually going on, rather than accusing me, because I'm not going to work with accusations.
I remember one instance where we were on holiday, having the best time.
Yeah.
Everything was going well, just chilling by the pool.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, they'd be like, so what do you do with your Dubai girls? And I was like, whoa, like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Like, what?
What does she mean by that? Okay.
Well, that's exactly what I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah. And what did
Like,
she
why
say?
are you making an assumption that I have a load of girls in Dubai that I will just casually have a thing with?
I mean, it's true, but why do you know?
Hey,
You can't say it because sometimes. And I had a client this morning, and he's like, they've been separated or whatever it is, and he's like, she keeps coming at me and accusing me of still going to escorts, and I was like, are you? And he's like, I haven't been to one in 2 weeks, and I'm like, okay, and I was just like, what I find fascinating about people who cheat, or not that you cheat, just generally people who have done something wrong, they're so flabbergasted by the accusation. It's like, but you are doing, and I've witnessed it. Like, because I've been in couples calls, I know one of them is having an affair. I do this for a living, so I know when one of them is having an affair. The extremities, how could you? The reactions are so extreme. It's so theatrical that's how you know there's something that might be uncomfortable. So the better thing to do is stay calm. Stay calm. Yeah, stay calm and just understand that every woman's going to be insecure in your position that you're in. But I would say when you are in a higher position or you're in exposed, having a secure partner is so helpful.
Yeah.
It's so helpful. I think maybe it's easier when it's a man and a woman or whatever it is, but it has been really helpful to me because like I never get any second questions about these things because I don't give them.
But this is the thing, like I'm not saying I'm perfect. I have my flaws and I have lots of things to work on.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to work on them. Like if I make a mistake or a relationship doesn't work out, like I'm obsessed with trying to figure out why did that not work out? Like, was it because of my actions and it was something that I did wrong? If so, okay, I need to know that so I don't make that mistake again.
There's only couple of things it would have been both people or one of them kept their options open to some extent. Yeah. And some extent throughout the relationship, they had one door open with alternatives. The other thing is they may have made comparisons with their partners, with either previous partners or with the idea of being single. There was constant comparisons, finding something like they were comparing with. And the final thing would have been is that their desire for emotional or physical intimacy was not matched. So either this person wanted more emotional connection than you were willing to give them. So they wanted more phone calls, connections, whatever, or another person wanted more physical connection than you were willing to give them. If those intimacy needs are mismatched, that's where it breaks down. So it's usually those three things. It's not too much more than that. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. Would you rather be in a relationship where you love them more or they love you more?
I love them more. And I know that's the opposite of a lot of girls. They're like, I want him to love me. I lose respect for people who love people who don't love them back. I lose respect for people who have an attachment to somebody who doesn't have an attachment to them back. But I kind of respect the idea that I'm with you because I love you. I'm never going to need you. I have plenty of people that love me. I know it sounds weird, but I even have people online that love me. Like I have enough fans on a day-to-day basis. I do not need another fan. So the idea of somebody being obsessed with me and loving me so much more than I love them, it's not what my ego requires. In order for me to be with you, I have to really love and admire the person I'm with. I can't be with somebody just because they like me. I've got plenty of people that like me. If I'm going to be with everybody that likes me, I'm going to be with the whole world. But I have to be really admired and impressed by you for me to be in a relationship with you. So it's always, I prefer to be attached. What do you prefer?
I think I prefer to be in a relationship where they love me more.
I think men should do it that way around.
Yeah.
And I think it should be that way around. I know it sounds the opposite of what everybody else would tell you, but I really do think, because I see this a lot, I see it every single day, the relationships that break down the most is when the man loves a woman far more than the woman loves him. Because when a woman truly loves a man a lot, even if it's more than what she does, she fights through it. She will really put up with a lot. She'll fight through it. I'm not saying that's good, but she'll have a willingness to do that. Because women initiate breakups and divorces more, when you love her more than she loves you, you'll be replaced, or she will lose respect, or she will end up just breaking up. Men don't break up as easily. So if a woman really loves them more than they love her, they won't break up with her over that. They won't find that an ick. They'll just be like, oh, it is what it is, no problem. But when a woman is unattracted to a man, she finds it easier to leave him. And it becomes easy to become unattracted to a man who's far more invested in you than you are in him. So I do think men should have that attitude where she should like me more than I like her. Not a lot, not abuse her because of that, not because like I'm treating her badly and just using her because of that, but there's a little bit more, she is a bit more tolerant or a bit more willing to make this relationship work, because if she's not invested in making this relationship work, it never will.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just falls apart.
What's your thoughts on, I think I asked this last time, but obviously as time has progressed, the current state of dating with social media and online dating, like, do you think it's got worse? Because one thing which I don't know why the algorithm is showing me this, but there seems to be like a lot of promotion and acceptance of cheating, like these memes which are making
on
these
both
jokes
ends.
about cheating,
On both
and I'm
ends.
like, actually, say what you're going to say. I'm going to get some out because I saved some.
No, because I've noticed that as well. The cheating thing is almost like normalized, and what I find so shocking, I thought that women had normalized men cheating on women. I thought that was normal, but whenever I post something about how like women cheat and you shouldn't take them back, like don't, as a man, you should never accept a woman cheating on you. She will lose all respect for you the moment you know that she's laid down with another man in all sorts of positions that you've had her in, and probably a bit more, and you still want to sleep with her. She will lose respect for you. We're not designed to accept this level of tolerance. We actually like an intolerant man. We like a man that is protective and guarded. We don't like when he's like, oh, but please, when's my turn to sleep with you? Can I wait? Like, we don't want that. We might settle for that if the women that actually want men that forgive them for cheating is only because the man she cheated with doesn't want her. If the man she cheated on with you, like whoever it was, if he was really invested in her and said, I really want to be with you, you would be left in the dust. So her coming back to you is because that failed. To some extent, that failed. So when you are that man that accepts the cheating, she'll do it again, and she will lose respect for you. She doesn't even realize that she's going to lose respect for you. She will actually think, no, he loves me so much. I'm so grateful. He's giving me another chance. But unconsciously, we're not designed for weak men. There's a reason why men have had multiple women throughout generations, and women never have. There's been no tribes with women doing it, because we don't need men don't need a really possessive, protective woman. They don't actually need that, but we need that in men. We need you to protect us against other men. It's horrible and scary out there. So many predators. If you don't mind us sleeping with other men, you're not protective. Whereas a man, you don't need me to protect you against other women. Why do you need me? That should be you. So they don't understand that women aren't designed to accept this. And yet when I post something like that, like, oh, you shouldn't forgive a woman for cheating, she'll lose respect for you, she won't want you, men get so upset. They're like, me and my wife, we went through it, and I forgave her, and we've got a great relationship now. They get so angered at the idea that forgiving cheating is a bad thing. So I think they've got so normalized to cheating that they want to hear that cheating is normal and you're going to get cheated on, just accept it.
There's this quote which I've seen posted a few times, one for the women and one for the men. It's, focus on one man and he will show you why you should focus on 10. And I've seen the same one, it's got 800,000 likes. Focus on one woman and she will show you why you should focus on 10. What message is that giving out?
If you meet girls in their 20s, honestly, when I work with clients in their 20s, men and women, there is almost like, not all of them, but the ones that are the more attractive, or the ones, whatever it is, women in their early 20s up until 28, 29, they have seen relationships as a way to firstly cheat before you get cheated on. They will always, if you ever meet a girl and you cheat on her and she forgives you, it's because she cheated first. At some way, she did it first. She had her just in case cheat just before you got there. So they always have this idea that cheat first before he cheats on you, so that it doesn't hurt and sting as much, because they're programmed to think they're going to cheat at some point. So let me get there first.
I've been there before.
Yeah, so they always do that. The other thing is they're now being programmed into thinking like you need to get something out of every man that you're dating. So one will pay your bills, one will do this, one will do that for you. So their method of dating men is keeping as many options as open as possible. Use one for sex, use one for money, use one for vacations, use one for different ones. They have different purposes. They delegate. So they literally have a team. Yeah, they like have a team now. It's not, obviously not all women, but it's the ones that are really in this social world and into this bad bitch era. That's what they're being taught. And I kind of understand, because the men are also really difficult. What I find really surprising is I'll meet men in their 20s who are almost all on Viagra. They think it's normal to just be on Viagra super young because they've gotten so used to porn that they've desensitized their body. So what ends up happening is that they need super promiscuous, or they need escorts, or they need threesomes, they need extremities to perform as well as they used to. So they have the problem of needing lots of variety in order to even work, even to get their penis to work. And women need lots of variety to just avoid the pain of a heartbreak. So they both come into it with this negativity.
What do you think of this? I'm going to play it for you. See what your thoughts are.
Women love a man that cheats or that can't cheat. And I thought that was untrue. But when I interviewed 1,000 women, I would get a little bit more specific. If we had a show about cheating, I maybe would start and say, have you ever been cheated on? And I couldn't believe how many women said yes. It was pretty much every single woman, maybe 70%, I would say, yes, I have been cheated on. But I decided to dig a little further. My second question would always be, did you leave or did you stay when you found out? And I would say 80% of the time, women stayed. Second thing I figured out was if they ended up leaving the man, they left him when he stopped cheating. So I had a clip that went viral where I said that women love being cheated on because I had just done 10 shows where I couldn't even believe it. I would say, have you been cheated on? Yes. Did you stay or did you leave? No, I stayed. How long did you stay? 6 months. Okay, and then did you end up breaking up with him? Yes. Was he cheating then? Well, no. So, what conclusion am I supposed to?
Okay. Well, I would argue, like, look, I understand what she's trying to say. Well, I think the underlying thing is women will only want to be with a man that has the ability to cheat, but chooses not to. The man that doesn't have the ability because he's an overweight man living in his mom's basement, watching porn all day, doesn't even know how to get an erection. He being faithful to you is not in any way, shape, or form a virtue. No one cares. But if you are a successful man, handsome, takes care of himself, and then you choose not to cheat for her sake, only then is an ego boost. So it's not so much that they want a man to cheat on them. Hopefully no one wants that. But they definitely want the man that has the ability to cheat but chooses not to, because that's the self-discipline. That's the that means that he's actually got some status.
Yeah.
But lack of status, and these weak men are like, oh, I would never cheat on my girl. And it's like, but you can't. You genuinely can't cheat on your girl. It's only a virtue when you can and you choose not to. But I would say men love cheating women so much more than ever before. Men love a woman who either is cheating on them or has the ability to cheat on them, and they don't realize this.
Really?
They really do.
I don't know if I
Do you know
agree
what?
with
They
that.
think it's unconscious. Do you know how I know this? They choose women based on her sexual performance more than anything else. I'll meet men who are like 42 years old, dating a 22-year-old, and she's like, she's the best sex I've ever had. I was thinking to myself, if a 22-year-old is the best sex you've ever had, do you not stop and think, how does a 22-year-old know how to do everything my 42 years has taught me? How is she teaching me tricks of the trade at 22? How does she know all
Maybe
of
he's
this?
just super aroused and that's why he likes the sex so much.
Well, he might be, but she's also skilled.
Yeah,
She has to be.
If she's pulling out some freaky moves at 22, that is
22 years
concerning.
old, and she's the best sex you've ever had, and you're a 40-year-old man. So that means you're 40 years.
I don't think I've experienced that.
No?
I generally stay away from. So this in the red pill community. Guys seem to push this message that you should go for a virgin or a woman with a low body count who's in her early 20s. For me, I have absolutely no interest in that because first of all, how deep can the conversation go? They haven't lived their life. They're still immature. Like I don't want to spend my time with somebody who's immature. But I know why some guys would like that, because they can manipulate them
and they
can basically just say a load of bullshit and they can get away with doing whatever they want. Whereas when I've noticed this, it's kind of, I like it a little bit when I date older women or women who are my age in the late 20s. They call me out on my shit.
Yeah, I know.
They're like, don't try to play that on me.
Well,
and I'm like,
do you know why that's attractive to you? Maybe because some men really need to feel significant. They really need to feel important around somebody that they're dating. They really need to feel significant. So them showing her a new restaurant or showing her how to use chopsticks, they think, oh my God, I'm so impressive. But men who are actually significant people and genuinely are significant, they actually need to feel compatible in a relationship. They don't need to feel significant. So what will happen is, you're all praise be to God, a very significant person. You don't need a 22-year-old who doesn't know what Dubai looks like to be like, wow, look at your flat. That doesn't do anything for you because you already know you got this. But it does for men who don't have an element of significance in the real world. So they need that element. So that's probably why you wouldn't find that super attractive. But you'll be so surprised that men are far more loyal to good sex than good women. Far more loyal. Who gives you good sex?
Why, you've got your course on how to be an alpha male.
Yeah.
There should be a course for women teaching them, like, this is how men work.
Yes.
Do these things for men and they're going to be pretty loyal to
I
you.
promise you, they are more loyal to good sex than good women. And that's why they get cheated on so much, and why they accept cheating so much. Because if they get good sex, they'll go back to it again and again and again, even if it's community vagina, they'll go back to it more than they will appreciate the girl that's less like sexually attractive, but such a good woman. So that's why they love being why I say they love being cheated on, is because they are loyal to sexual acts.
Imagine if you're a woman, you're like, right, I'm going to learn how to give the best blowjob ever, right? And if she has mastered the art of doing that, that guy isn't going anywhere.
Nowhere. He's not going anywhere. And then he'll try and believe that this promiscuous woman is a good woman. What men do is, because they fall in love with sex rather than the woman herself, they'll fall in love with the sex and then convince themselves she's a good woman because they want to justify their attachment to her. But if he had his brain switched on, he would understand, how does this girl know how to do all of this? How many dicks has she sucked before? How does she know all this? Like, how does she know how to take pictures from the bathroom in these positions and send me videos at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday? Where is she learning all of this? They don't think that. They just think, I've met my dream girl. I know she's a good one. This is the other thing. They'll say, I know she's a good girl. Oh, she's such a good girl. Oh, she's just a homebody. I'm like, bitch, she sends you nudes at 4 p.m. She's fine. She's not, this is not what she does. But they want to convince themselves. So they always pick the best sex and then convince themselves she's a good woman rather than actually choosing a good woman. And they're like, those two things don't have to be separate. It doesn't have to be good women are terrible at sex and bad women are great at it. But when you override all the other traits of a person just because her sex is good, you are going to set yourself up for humiliation in that relationship. Yeah. And this is why I find Jeff Bezos so interesting. He met his wife while she was married, had 3 kids, everything. And I was thinking to myself, she must have been a OG at like gold digging. Women who do that, they know that the quickest way to...
She's mastered the art.
She's years of experience. And he's so dumb. He thinks, okay, you know what? I know she was married to a millionaire, multimillionaire, but I'm going to be a billionaire, so she's going to be loyal to me. And it's like, no, not at all. They're loyal to what they need out of you. So that's what he probably thought. He's like, oh, that guy's only worth 500 million. I'm a billionaire. I can get her like this. But if you can buy her, she can be bought. That's not the woman you should be investing in. But who's going to tell Jeff Bezos that? Except for me, if he wants to be my client. But
nice little cash cow,
can you imagine? But you have to be a different level of stupid to think you are a special person when you choose a promiscuous woman. This is what men think. They choose this really promiscuous woman and they think, but with me, she'll be different. But with us, it's different. I will show her, because look, I go first class. She's never been on first class before. With me, she's going to be faithful. She's as faithful as her past, as her upbringing, as what she's been with other men, as she's as faithful as that. You can do nothing to change that. Her own values determines that. There's some women with men that they hate, but they're so loyal because that's their values. There's other women who are with the best guy in the planet, but she doesn't believe in being faithful. They steal a girl from another man and think with him she's going to be loyal. Impossible. If she can be stolen, if she can be bought, if she can cheat for you, she can cheat on you. Just remember.
Have you ever had any clients express their concerns when they're in a relationship and their partner, female partner, is uploading or posting pictures of them semi-nude?
Yeah, they do have problems with that. But there tends to be a balance in that. So what happens is the girls that post really provocative tend to attract men that like those types of pictures. So they end up with each other to some extent, because men that actually were never attracted to that woman, they wouldn't actually select her to begin with. So something in their selection that was broken to begin with. They're usually just really attracted to her, and they have a habit of following girls that post provocatively. Then once they get her, they're like, I don't want you posting provocatively. She's like, but I've seen your feed. You always like these girls that look like this. So they both got the same values, but they don't realize they got the same values.
I think if you're getting into a relationship and you've already seen that's what she does, you can't really expect her to change her behavior, because that's kind of what she does.
And you knew that.
But I did have it was a friend of mine who was actually on the podcast. He was asking my advice because he was in a relationship with this girl she's pretty modest most of the time, and out of nowhere she throws up this kind of seductive bikini picture. And he didn't know how to respond to that. So he was asking for my advice. And I said to him, like, be careful with how you handle this, because you don't want to come across as being insecure and, not being comfortable with her doing that, because you want to kind of look as though like you're cool, you're calm, collected. But he was concerned because she'd never done this before.
Yeah.
Now, I think the reason why, because he showed me the picture, it wasn't bad, it wasn't good, but I think
Mhm.
it was more of the case that she'd put in a lot of work into the gym,
Right.
and she just wanted to
So the
show
context
off,
mattered.
like,
Mhm.
hey, look, like, I look good, and I
Mhm.
want to show off how I look good. I do that all the time. Like,
So you
I
understand.
like to show off the
Yeah,
hard
you
work that I
understand.
put in
Yeah.
the gym. So I see why she would have wanted to do
Mhm.
it, but there's definitely a way to do it,
Yeah.
because there's a way you can post a picture showing a bit of skin, showing your physique, without like you looking into the lens like "fuck me"
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of thing.
And was she
Which
doing that or
no,
she was
she
okay.
wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
But I was saying to him, I was like, leave it for now,
Mhm.
but if it continues, maybe have a word.
I would always say, like, it's probably better to address it for now, but just the difference between
Even
toxic,
if it's a one-off.
even if it's a one-off, I would just say, because the thing is, well, people think sometimes what needy is, and you don't want to come across needy and insecure, but the only time you're insecure is when you don't have any deal breakers with a woman. Those are the only men that are insecure, where she can keep doing that, she can cheat on you, she can do that, and you stay with her, but you keep shouting at her about it. You're nagging, but you're not leaving. Then you're insecure. But if you're letting them know, you're not going to leave them. But if they keep doing it, you will leave. As long as they know that there is a willingness to walk away, you're never truly insecure. You're just letting them know what you accept and what you don't accept. So in that position, you'd be like, look, I don't mind you posting this, but do you want to tell me what was your reason for it? Because you didn't it's not what you normally do. And it's not the type of woman I would normally select. So what's going on? And if she said, oh, baby, it really was just a gym pic, and so on and so forth, you can address it and understand each other and recalibrate your boundaries. But if you don't say anything, she doesn't know where her boundaries lies, and they can keep increasing. So you've got to find the balance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's interesting as well. I see this with some of the guys who I know, and their whole thing on social media has just been as flashy as they can
Yeah.
possibly be. And then they do these reels
Mhm.
and they get their videos clipped where they're complaining about not being able to find good girls.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what do you expect? Like, you
Yeah.
literally post the most ridiculous things, showing off like
Yeah.
how much money you have,
Yeah.
how much you care about materialistic objects and going to
Mhm.
parties and things like that. Like,
And
no
wondering,
wonder you are struggling
yeah.
to find good women. Like,
Yeah.
if you're posting that, you're attracting one type of
It's
woman.
no different to women posting bikini pictures and then getting men that are really polygamous, or men that cheat a lot, because
Sending dick pics.
you're going to attract the type of man that loves women. He's like worships women. You don't want that. So yeah, I agree. It's a ridiculous, but they always end up together. The woman that posts a lot and the man that posts a lot of money and the woman that posts a lot of her body, they always end up together. And do you know, as a man, do you lose respect for a man when he's with a woman that posts a lot of bikini pictures, or with a woman that's super available? Do you lose respect for men that are like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I do.
yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, because you are judged quite a lot on the
by the
woman you
quality of
choose
the
to be
woman?
with.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's been some guys who they've been friends of mine. I respect them, and then it'd be the first time they kind of introduce
Mhm.
their partner to the world of social media. And I'd
Mhm.
be like, oh, I might go check them out. And I'm like, really?
So embarrassing for them, isn't
Like,
it?
this isn't you.
But in their mind, they think they're bragging. They're like, look what I've got.
Yeah.
But in the mind of people who actually respect themselves, they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So they only appeal to the people who don't respect themselves. And that's the people that go, because the same thing with women. I say to them, always, I meet girls, sometimes they meet a guy, especially in Dubai, that's always gone for those OnlyFans girls and always gone for the gold diggers. And she's a nice girl. And she's like, I'm nothing like his type. So he's going to be really impressed with him. But that's his type. That's what he likes. So you being a nice, caring, non-materialistic woman, if he's gone for gold diggers in the past, it's not going to be useful. If he's got a really big porn addiction and he keeps watching OnlyFans girls and and you're being this good homemaking wife, you think, oh, he's going to be so impressed, I'm different. He's actually going to be like, this is not what I'm used to, because their type becomes what they're sexually attracted to, not who treats them well.
What advice would you give to a guy who is pretty successful and wants to improve his chances of attracting the right type of woman via social media, if he's using that for dating? But then you can't overdo it with posting too much with the materialistic stuff, because then you bring the wrong type of people.
Yeah, my advice to men, I actually have a course on this, and I call it the 3 M's. My advice to men when it comes to attracting women and it comes to having a good relationship is just master yourself, like yourself, mastering myself, mastering the women that I'm with, and also mastering relationships. So mastering yourself, understanding women, and mastering relationships. Mastering yourself, what that means is having some self-discipline. If you want to really do well when it comes to dating and when it comes to women, you you have to have self-discipline. If you're out of shape, if you're watching too much pornography all the time, if you are not good with money, the thing is, when you're talking to women, they will get a gut instinct of whether or not you're a quality man. And what their gut instinct is based on is how you feel about yourself. Men that are secure, they give off a vibe to women's gut instinct where they're like, I really want to be with him. But men who are insecure, like there's something going on in them, the gut instinct of women is like, I know he's handsome, I know he's nice, but I'm just not feeling him. So you really have to master yourself first, and then you have to really understand women. Now, if you truly understand women, you'll know what kind of posts will attract what kind of women. You'll also understand what kind of boundaries attract what kind of women. So if you're just like, oh, I just let my woman express herself, whatever she wants to do, I just have her back and this, and you become kind of like a feminist, you're going to attract women who are narcissistic, because most healthy women like men that have boundaries on them. They like men that have some kind of deal breakers, because they want to have a fear of losing you, just like you should have a fear of losing her. So they need you need to truly understand to women what men are being taught, or a lot of men, they seem to think, especially like, I see it a lot in American men, they think if you're just submissive to women and just act like a feminist and act like you're pro-women, they will be attracted to you. They don't actually find that attractive. They try to truly find attractive where you have your own set of values, and if she fits them, perfect. If she doesn't, she can go. But then you have to learn the skills of a relationship, and one of the skills of a relationship is your hygiene on social media. If you're following lots of girls, if you're liking lots of pictures, so on and so forth.
Do you know, after we had our conversation last time, I think I unfollowed about 10, 15 people.
Well done. And then how many are you on now? Still a lot.
No, yeah, but I'm following.
But you're single,
people.
right, at the moment, or no?
Yeah, well, even then, I'm not like the people who I follow. I mean, people looking at me like it's a professional page. So I don't follow many people, like 570 people. So people can kind of quickly scan through that.
Yeah.
If anyone is posting excessive amounts of bikini pictures or whatever, like I'm not going to follow them.
Okay. So you do kind of unfollow, like when you see, I unfollow girls that post a lot of bikini pictures. I feel uncomfortable, and I just don't, I never follow girls that post a lot.
The problem is if I am actually friends with them, or I've been friends with them in the past, and they are going a little bit too hardcore with all the bikini stuff, I'm like,
it gets boring.
You're making it hard for me to keep following you. Yeah. It doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good. And it looks, it just doesn't look like, I'm bored of content of just seeing how beautiful a woman is. And we know this. Now I've become desensitized to beautiful women. So now I just need to see something that's worth following. If I don't see anything worth following, I won't follow you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of friends, I won't follow anyone that I don't see.
It's like you can just dress nice instead. You don't have to be naked.
Yeah, you could dress classy.
I was going through some of your comments on your posts, and everyone's like, oh, girl, you should do a course on like where you get your outfits from and the makeup.
Oh, I know. They do ask me about that, but I try and keep to what I know.
I don't think that's you.
It's not me. They're getting ready with
doing
me.
A makeup tutorial on YouTube.
My God, it's so wet. I can't. I'm just so like, this is not my identity. How I look and how I come across or anything like that is just simply not my identity. It's not who I am. It's not what I'm going to sell. It's not, it's just like one tiny part of who I truly am. So I think my purpose online is purely to kind of help relationships, but it's not to how to be Sadia. I would never teach anybody that. Yeah.
There was one thing they did say which was interesting, and I don't really understand. You said you need the right level of conflict to maintain sexual attraction.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Because I am a type of person that generally doesn't like conflict.
Yeah, you do. I honestly, in general, passive and people-pleasing kind of relationships, they lose all their spark. And the reason why people-pleasing in general, conflict avoidance and people-pleasing are not necessarily the same thing. Conflict might run away from it. But people-pleasing really kind of sucks out the joy of sexual intimacy. And the reason being is part of the joy of intimacy should be learning what arouses each other. That should be the part of the intimacy that's the best part, is seeing what impact you're having on your partner. That's most people's why they enjoy the intimacy, is seeing how their body or who they are has an impact on the person that they're with. That's actually what creates chemistry. But when you are a people pleaser, you can't trust the person's feedback. You don't even know what they like or don't like. And also one thing with people pleasers or people who avoid conflict or don't want to give conflict, they don't give feedback, and they're too focused on, are you okay? They're not teaching their partner what turns them on or what makes them feel aroused or what makes them feel attractive. So the relationship or that intimacy loses its spark. And so you need that, conflict to know that this person, if they didn't like the intimacy, they would tell me, so I know I'm getting true feedback based on what's going on in the bedroom.
And as well, you said something which was explaining why men lose sexual interest. And I think the two main points you were making was porn or that they had alternative partners, which in some cases, maybe many cases, is true. But I don't think that is as simple as that.
Yeah, why do guys try and disagree with me on that? Because I always just say,
Because
I'm glad you brought that up, because I really want to really get through to this. Where if you are not sleeping with your partner and it's getting to weeks, months, or whatever it is, can you honestly tell me you're not touching porn and you're not touching another woman? And if that is the case, where you're not sleeping with your partner with no porn and no alternatives, there's something wrong in your testosterone.
No, because I've been there before.
Yeah.
And I asked those questions. I thought, fuck, there's something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that I was losing this sexual attraction to this person because of the way they were behaving.
I think that's a lie.
It's
though.
not. No, it's true, because
Yeah.
they kept doing things which was irritating me and causing resentment. And when you build up a resentment to somebody, why would you then want to have sex with them?
But then
that was one thing.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, I think the dynamics of the relationship shifted a little bit because I probably was starting to, I didn't respect that person. And I became too much of the carer, where I felt like I was literally babysitting this person, because in my eyes, I was like, this person's literally, no offense, but like useless.
Yeah.
Like they can't do
But
anything.
would you
They
say
can't-
in that time you still didn't watch any porn? There was no other women, nothing?
No, because I love that person,
Yeah.
and I was trying to make it work, but the desire wasn't there.
But I still think, look, even if you don't have desire, it's a
You
bit like...
blame everything on porn.
I do. I blame everything. And the reason why I blame everything on porn, I find it hard to believe that when you walk into a prison, you'll see men sleeping with other men. Yeah, you'll literally catch them in the act and they are okay with it. And you're trying to tell me they respect each other, or they care about each other, or they don't care. It's literally, it's like urine. It builds up in your body. You need to release it. You need to go to the toilet. So then if your body's not functioning like that, either there's some masturbation, there's some pornography, something is getting released somehow.
Yeah, but like, okay, so what if I reverse the roles?
Yeah.
And you're a woman.
Yeah.
Maybe you've even experienced this way. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what? I'm not even, I don't want to have sex with this guy anymore.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you're addicted to porn and you're sleeping with other guys?
But I would argue that our bodies don't function the same way. We don't get a build-up of anything.
I know, but how do you know? How do you know what man's
Can I
thinking?
ask then, generally, let's say, for example, you don't sleep with your wife for 4 to 6 weeks or whatever it is, and you're not watching porn and there's nobody else. What happens to the testosterone?
I don't know, probably dip. But I think this is...
But does it get released in your sleep, or what happens? Where does it literally go? Because I see it as like, where does your urine go if you don't go to the toilet?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't go back into...
You'll probably just jerk off.
So there's something.
Yeah,
But what do people usually jerk off to?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
so
everybody has to watch porn, though.
Not everybody, huh?
Has to watch porn.
They don't all have to watch porn, but they would either watch videos of themselves or they'd watch videos. Yeah, so they would
I love to watch videos of myself.
Yeah. So then tell me, where does this
No, I think this is
testosterone
what
go?
it's I think it's quite common in relationships after a certain couple of years, not always, but in some relationships, the desire to have that same level of sex compared to the honeymoon period, it's not the same. Like it just is not the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so from what I have researched, because like the last thing that I want is to get into a relationship and get married and for the love life and sex to die.
Yeah.
Like that'd be horrible. So I think as the relationship matures, it just means you have to work at it a little bit more. It's not going to come natural. So you have to make the effort to go on date nights, to be romantic, to initiate, to seduce, to play.
So is it just that you lose attraction and you just not attracted?
I think men probably just get a little... In some cases, they might lose attraction because your partner's just been a dickhead.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of guys just get too content, too comfortable, get lazy, stop making an effort because they just assume, well, she's just going to be around forever and I don't have to make an effort anymore.
But then where does that sex drive go? Who does it get released onto? Because it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, in that case, they may cheat.
Yeah.
Or they may just...
Watch porn.
It might just
So I
disappear.
was
No, but the sex
right.
drive just might just disappear.
Yeah, the sex
Because
drive
this happens, like it's actually proven to happen when the partner has a baby. And I think, actually I won't say any names, but I know somebody who's had a baby. And him being around the pregnant wife, post-pregnant wife, the baby, his testosterone dropped.
Yeah, it
because
does
he's
drop.
naturally like
More
becoming
nurturing.
more of a nurturing
yeah.
carer person because he's around a baby all the time.
Yeah.
So that's like not really his fault,
Yeah.
but it's just a side effect of a different stage in a relationship.
Okay.
I don't know what the solution is for that. Maybe
But then
you
what if
can't be
it's
around the
not a
baby for too
baby?
long.
What if it's not a baby issue? Because look, here's the reason why I find this hard to believe is sometimes I'll get men in their 60s and they still want to have sex with an escort. They still want to be, and I'm just thinking, so sex drive doesn't really go down that much. I've met men who have erectile dysfunction or they'll have like a cancer or
Yeah.
something and they'll get a pump to get it working if they wanted to.
But I don't know if that's just Mother Nature and how men are wired to just
Stop
be
their
with
wives.
somebody, reproduce with that person, and then, okay, you've done
Go
that,
back
move
to-
on to the next person, reproduce, because the whole point is to
Keep going.
keep the human civilization and populations going and
Yeah.
reproduce. Like, that probably is a thing. And that is what men would probably have to fight
figure out.
with, you know, particularly once they get into a relationship. I think there is always going to be that urge to want to sleep with other women, but it's you're in control of how you handle those
But you
urges.
know, what I find interesting is like I'll meet clients and when they get permission to sleep with other women, when they're given permission and they're
What, from
like
their partner?
from their partner, they'll be in positions where their partner might say, I want you to get another wife or I want you to be with somebody, like go do it. They're less likely to do it. Do you guys just like cheating? Do you just like hurting us? Is that what it is? Because I've seen it where she's like, my wife says I can go and the wife doesn't really mind and she's told me before, but I don't want to and I don't want to. And it's just a bit strange that when they get the permission, they actually decrease their desire to wanting to do it. Why is that?
Because they probably feel it's a trap. Like,
They feel like it's
an true. But I think
an
in the past, a lot of men they used to have mistresses.
Yeah, they just used to do that.
I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's the right thing. It's just, I think I'm
do you know
always
what
really...
I find so funny about the women that sign up? Because I work with lots of mistresses. And what I find that girls that choose to be mistresses, what happens with them is...
They fall in love.
They do. Yeah, of course. It's no different to a marriage. They're literally, they're married to the man. In their mind, they're married to the man. But the psychology of the woman that actually goes on to be a mistress is she usually has a really intense trust issues. And those mistresses, they don't trust men. They think men are going to cheat. So I'd rather know who he's cheating with and what time. So I'd rather know, and they are so much calmer. I'll meet mistresses, and they're so much calmer with when he's there, when she's a mistress, than when he becomes a husband. The moment he becomes a husband, she doesn't trust him anymore. She's like, I know what used to happen when you used to sneak out to the car and make phone calls. I know what happens when you go on business trips. I used to be with you. So she becomes anxious again. She's like, I was so much happier when I would know by 8 o'clock he's with his wife, he's putting the kids to bed. I know where he is. He ain't going nowhere. Yeah. So they actually feel calmer with a married man than they ever do with a single man. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Well, it's crazy as well. I'm friends with a guy he's very successful, billionaire, and he posted the secret to a successful marriage, just having a mistress. And I was like, because I'm trying to find role models that have a happy monogamous partnership and kids, and it's like that is really wholesome. Like I want to see more of that, so I think that it is achievable. But I think probably being here does not help. Yeah. But I know I just see a lot of men who are married or in relationships just cheating, and I'm like,
I know.
Like, come on. Like, is there not more role models that... Because I bet there's even these really famous people, actors or whatever, very successful men who are in the limelight who are always showing, like, this is me and my family and my kids, but even then you don't really know what they do behind closed doors. So it's...
I know because I hear from them, and it has shifted my anxiety. Do you remember on my first podcast I was like, I'm such anxious, I'm so crazy, I'm so this, that and the other. I've become a lot calmer when you know the truth about what men act like, and weirdly it gives you a sense of control because you kind of know what to expect. Like cheating is actually not what causes the pain, it's the expectation. Like when you don't expect it and the shock of it, that's what causes it. That's why mistresses have no problem knowing he might have even had, his wife might be pregnant. They don't actually care. It's when they're shocked, then they'll go crazy. That same mistress would like tear his house apart if she knew he cheated with another woman, because it's a shock value that actually matters. And I think when you work with clients all day, every day, you learn that it is somewhat unsustainable for a woman's sex drive to match a man's sex drive for the rest of their life. It is quite difficult. So I remember saying to my partner, like, let's just make a rule that no, we're going to be faithful to each other forever, 50 years, we're going to do this forever. Like, that's probably not realistic. The more realistic thing to promise each other is when we start to see our feelings drift, or when we start to see our desires go towards other people, we let each other know so that we don't hurt each other. Just let me know where and when, or if it's going to happen, and then I can make an informed decision. And
that's a really difficult conversation.
Yeah, it's a difficult conversation, but I'd rather have that than who is she.
Yeah.
And because I'm realistic, I'm so realistic. So I'd rather, and he's like, oh, that's so negative. Why would you say that? And I'm like, I'd rather that than you promise me I'm going to be 50 years.
I'm
nobody
never going to
else,
sleep with another woman,
another
for the rest
woman
of my
ever.
life.
You're the best. I mean, it's all these nice things that he does say, but it's like, let's be real with each other. Like, let's be so real with each other that if and when our feelings change, we let each other know so you can make an informed decision. If you want to stay, I can make an informed decision. And then we don't become enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only vow.
But I think that's a very mature approach to it, which a lot of people don't have.
They don't have, because they don't have insight into what relationships look like through the course of it. So they start arguing with me about like what I post online. It's like, but you're only in stage 3 of your relationship, or you're only in 4 years deep, or you're in 10 years with one particular person. You don't know what the real world looks like. So you almost have to trust the people who work with the people to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Like divorce lawyers, psychologists, or therapists, they're telling you the truth because they see it all the time. Yeah.
So you have hope for relationships?
I do, as long as they can be absolutely honest about their needs and desires. And sometimes those needs and desires means we part.
Yeah.
But as long as you don't hurt each other, because you can't have tough conversations.
I think that's an issue I'd had in the past. I would try to people please a little bit and not be completely honest about what I would want at that particular time.
It's just so much better, because what it does is when you are really ruthless with what you want and need, not in a horrible way, but it's like my partner might say, you've gained weight, like you need to lose a little bit of weight. I have no problem with that. I'd rather hear that than you slowly lose attraction, and I find out for 6 stone later that you're not attracted and you're cheating. But the key thing is you don't want to attract a sensitive woman, because sensitive women who can't take feedback, and you tell them something and they get super upset and they can't take it, you're eggshells forever. You can't be yourself in that relationship. You don't want a relationship with a sensitive person, man or woman. You can't give them feedback. So conflict is really important, because it kind of weans out the people who are too sensitive to get to understand you and realize that tough conversations actually bring you closer. They get too in their feelings and be like, you offended me, rather than thinking this helps save the relationship. And you need people who are capable of that.
Yeah. God, we've gone through so much.
We have.
It's so good,
Sorry.
though.
No, I feel bad for the audience. They must be falling asleep.
I don't even know how long we've been going for. It's been good. So for anybody who is struggling with their relationship, or for the guys that want to find out more, how could you help them?
I do have the program, like the 3 M's I was mentioning before, like focusing on yourself, understanding women, and then understanding relationships. I have a program specifically for that. And it's normally, it's normally quite an expensive program, but because I'm here and Mike, your viewers are very, very helpful. If you do want access to that totally for free, you can just DM me the word Mike and I'll send that to you. And so that's my goal, is to kind of keep helping men and women. I actually do want to expand to men and women, because my insight is, though it seems like it's more focused to men, women can learn a lot about men by understanding what I'm saying.
What is the ratio on YouTube and Instagram?
YouTube is far more men. Yeah. It's far more men. Instagram is quite 50-50, but clients tend to be men. The actual clients that come to me tend to be, the people that watch tend to be equal amount of men and women, but the people that actually come and invest in actually, it's interesting.
So I was thinking, if you did release a course for women that taught them to basically understand men, like this is how a man works, do you think it would do well, or do you think it's more the case that men are coming to you?
I think I don't actually know. I'm so on the fence with that. Sometimes I get lots of DMs from women saying, oh, please make a course, or please teach us everything. And, you really helped me. And they're really, really eager. But because I just feel, I think this is my own personal thing, I feel a little bit egotistical teaching women how to be a woman. I almost feel like it's better to teach men, because like you actually don't know this. But teaching women how to be women, I'm a bit like, I feel a bit shy.
I think you probably should.
I should?
Yeah, because women, I think there's a lot which seems quite obvious, but they don't seem to understand, like just how to please a man. They don't. Keep a man happy.
Just keep him, fed and sleep with him. Yeah. And
there you go. That's the course.
Yeah, $10.99. So you know why I'm a bit motivated more to kind of help women and expand to women? It's the role models they're getting online tend to be quite bitter women who were raised without fathers, teaching them how to be mothers and how to be wives. So it's women who are a bit scarred, who don't have a good relationship with their father, teaching women, be like, this is how you get a man, this is what you do, do, this is how I cheat on him, blah, blah. But when you have this, upbringing, which kind of puts you at war with men, you're going to teach women how to become single in the long run. So, which every woman might end up being single, but you don't want to be bitter and single. So I think the competition I see online tends to be very like gold digging, cheating, fatherless women that are teaching women how to create fatherless children.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe, God willing, I'll try and expand to that as well.
And maybe a book one day.
A
can
book,
see you
yes.
writing a book.
The book is coming. The book is
A lot
coming.
of spelling mistakes.
I have this terrible habit. I never check anything and spell check anything. And to this day, people are like, your team is so shit. And I'm like, that's me. That's me with the spelling errors. So so that will be coming soon. I'm very excited about the book. I really, I haven't, it's still in progress. But for a long time, people were telling me to write a book almost straight away. They're like, write a book. But I wanted to wait until I feel like I'm going to write something that's worth reading. And now that I've kind of got the draft and stuff, I'm like, this is quite an essential read in this day and age. Unfortunately, and I would say my content is quite essential in this day and age. If you go into dating naive and you think I'm just batshit crazy, you don't have a clue about women. You really don't have a clue. You think women like what your mum likes. Your mum has told you got to be a good listener, you got to be kind, you got to always be nice to her and tell her compliments, and you think that's what women want. That's what women want from their son. They want a polite, good boy. Women want a strong, masculine man. You only learn that from fathers and from experiences. So it's a shortcut if they followed my advice, but they want to get triggered rather than following it. What do you disagree with when you watch my content? Is there? I know the part about the porn and stuff, but what would you say is like a bit?
It's not the. Maybe there's a few posts I would disagree with, and then maybe it's like you've offered reasons as to why something happens, but I'm like, actually, it's a little more complicated than that.
Yeah,
there's more to it than that.
Yeah,
but it's it's like when people ask me about how do you lose fat. Yeah, it's like, I mean, I could write a friggin' essay on how to lose fat. I mean, I can give you some of the main reasons why or how to lose fat, but there's a lot more to it than that, and it depends on this and that. Like,
and that's very true, because sometimes I'll get clients and they say, I saw a reel about this, does this mean that? I'm like, no, not in your context at all. It's just, you have to understand that this is a generalized view of, like, in extreme cases, but in your cases you have to understand what this means and the context and so on and so forth. So sometimes I definitely understand. They see 2 minutes and they think it's applicable to them, and then they over exaggerate what's going on in their life. So I agree.
Okay. Amazing. So if everyone wants to find out more, check out YouTube, Instagram, Sadia Psychology.
Yes, and Instagram me the word Mike, and I'll be sending my free program to you guys.
Nice. You're about to hit 1 million subscribers as well.
God willing, inshallah, that's the plan. Yeah, that's the plan. All thanks to Mike. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.